What's up, guys? I'm eventually going to get an intro. I haven't decided what it is going to be, though. Probably something metal. So I'm just using, hopefully, no copyright music, so it don't get sued into the ground. And this episode spawned to me after listening to Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons, and also just thinking. Just sitting and thinking. Sometimes my ideas come to me when I sit and think. I rarely write stuff down. I wrote some stuff down, but I don't because I fucking hate writing. I really, truly do. It's super boring. But also something came to me in kind of like a contextual way that people don't understand. Maybe I can simplify it and hopefully people will understand. But also, hopefully I reach an audience on just some really cool tools that I use in my vast tool belt, essentially, that I use almost all the time, every day. So this is definitely going to revolve around encryption, banking yourself to a degree, why 2FA matters, and if you're paranoid, why you should encrypt everything. Now, this didn't come from me just wandering the internet. Mainly, I was just listening to a podcast with Bruce Schneier. He's an American cryptography, computer security professional, a privacy specialist, and a writer. And he was just kind of him and the guy Kerry Parker from Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons was kind of just like talking about like encryption and like why it's important. And it's a really, really cool topic to go listen and think about. Now, I am not a cryptography expert. I'm not even a math expert. I know 1 + 1, 2 + 2. And there's a lot of tools I use that I don't fully fundamentally understand, but I definitely try to understand as much as possible from a nuanced from a simple perspective, so that I can help other people that aren't maybe educated in this topic understand themselves. And even if you get this sliver, the smallest amount of information from here, and you can apply it to your daily life, that's what's important to me. It's never going to be millions of views and hitting every algorithmic point in perspective. It's if one person gets slightly educated from this and it improves them even the slightest amount, I think that is a win to me. So, first, why does encryption matter? Why should you care? Why do I care? Even if encryption is protecting the worst of people, I think that it's important because it helps maintain the democracy of society, and it maintains your privacy. Without privacy and good security practices, we essentially have nothing. When you get into mass surveillance capitalism, and also when you start digging deeper into people's lives, you essentially forfeit the idea of a free society. This is my personal take. I think the more you're being watched, the less free you are. Freedom comes at a cost. Whether we agree or disagree with the people around us, we need to understand that we should, as humans, privacy should be a right. This is why we have blinds on our windows, locks on our door. Even though public bathrooms have locks and we know what people are doing behind them, we have stalls. These stalls protect us because we know what's going on, but we don't need to see it. And this is what I equate to encryption is. Encryption pretty much as I can send everything under the sun through an encrypted channel, and it doesn't mean I'm doing something illegal. It means that I don't want people to see what I'm sending. It's that simple. This is why, fundamentally, if you think that you have nothing to hide, don't just think about yourself, think about the people you're talking to, think about the future where this might fundamentally not be considered good in the public eye if messages, tweets, posts, whatever, get leaked. This is why I'm generally for, if you have social media, make it private. Try not to spill your opinions about everything on there, and touch grass. That's my personal take. On a fundamental take, encryption not only just protects you as an individual, it protects the children, which governments try to. Oh, and this isn't like some signaling like fourth and foremost. But when the government is trying to break encryption, or policymakers are trying to break encryption to protect the children, it is a load of bullshit. There is no such thing as a safe backdoor. It's been tested. We all know this. And I hope that people continue to know this, that there is no such thing as a safe backdoor. It doesn't protect anyone. And when threat actors stumble upon these backdoors, it's just going to harm good people in the long run. Now, I think now that you have an understanding of why privacy does matter and encryption does matter, let's think about it a little bit deeper. Say you're having a conversation with somebody and your conversation gets leaked due to maybe you get hacked, maybe someone takes your phone and just dumps the conversation everywhere. You fundamentally, through a third party, allowed this conversation to get leaked to somebody else without their consent. This could be something you could call a very problematic scenario where you might not care about privacy, but the other person does. And it doesn't mean they're realistically consenting to sending these messages out into the open. And this is why I always take conversation that I have with somebody with a grain of salt, that this might be leaked someday, this might be screenshotted, and this might be an issue at some point. Again, not because I'm hiding anything, but because there's fundamental things that I don't want out on the internet. I think everyone has those things. How does one solve this? Signal. Session. Reduce your communications digitally. Signal has a really good feature where you can delete messages automatically. I use Molly. I kind of like Molly a little bit more. It's a more hardened version of Signal for my normie friends. And then Session, you can just delete messages. It prevents screenshots because, and obviously someone else could take another device and just take a picture of it, and, whatever. But this goes to what you put in messages in public. Always have the assumption that it might be leaked at some point in the future, or someone might be trying to harvest that information. Try to mitigate it as much as possible. This is where SimpleX is great, this is where Session is great, and this is where also Quitch is like another messaging platform that uses onion routing, self-hostable like SimpleX. I know we don't need another messaging service, but these are all fundamental features that I think all messaging services have. Some form of anonymity or privacy, very good, well-tested, strong encryption, and most importantly, as little information as possible. Those are the key foundations of any good messaging app. That ought to be the bare minimum. Good encryption, little to no metadata or data in general, identifiable at best, and good features that protect the user's privacy and protect the security and the integrity. This is another factor why encryption matters. Strong encryption is essential for internet security. It's good for making sure law enforcement doesn't threaten the human rights that you have as an individual. Strong encryption also strengthens the privacy and the security of the person. I mean, these are all fundamental things that we should mutually agree on. Mandating traceability and also making it very easy to uncover stuff has never been a net positive for society. These are just, my ideas and my thoughts. I think that if you are in a communication agreement with another person that you trust, simple X, session, signal, just use it. So but when these cloud providers get hacked or the data gets leaked, then you got nothing to worry about. But we're going to get into a tool that I use, a tool that I found, and a tool that finally got audited, which is Based. The first tool that I came across is actually really funny. It's called Picocryot. I don't know how I found it. I don't remember how I found it, but I love it. So, Picocryot is a very small, I'm just going to read the description, is a very small, hence Pico, very simple yet very secure encryption tool. I know people use Vericrypt. I don't use it anymore. I use Picocryot. I like it. It's small, it's portable, it's based. It's based. Picocryot is a very secure encryption tool. You can use it to protect your files. It's designed to be on the go, to the go-to for encryption with a focus on security, simplicity, reliability. It uses XCHA20 cipher, the Argon 2 ID key derivative function, and provides a high level of security, even from three-letter agencies. And I say, let's not get crazy. But your privacy and security is under attack. Take back confidence. I'll leave a link to their GitHub repository in the show notes. Please check this out. So the cool thing about Picocryot is its dependencies are completely open source. It's small. It's like, what is the size of this? It's crazy small. I think it's like 20. It's 3 megabytes. That's small. I think it could go down to like 1 megabyte. That 3 megabytes kind of bloated. JK. It's portable. It's permissions, none. Ease of use, it is very easy. It's actually too easy. Maybe at some point in the future I'll do a video on how to use Picocryot. I really like it. It finally fucking got an audit. This is how old Picocryot is. When I first found it, there was no audit, and it was asking for money to secure an audit. And it finally got an audit. Their audit's in their GitHub, and I'm super happy about that. It's called Read. It's got Read Solomon. It supports deniability, data integrity. Key derivative is Argon 2. Cipher is XCHA20. Cross-platform, open source, and free. Free is in freedom. And the telemetry, none. BitLocker, we don't know. Cryptomator, none. I mean, the thing, Cryptomator's I used Cryptomator for a long time, and I think it's still a good tool. And I think Vericrypt are still good tools. I just prefer Picocryot. I genuinely think that it's a more robust tool. It does most things better, but it's not one size fits all. There are cases for it does not support full disk encryption, like Vericrypt and BitLocker. Those are a better option. You can use Lux. I think Lux is, there is problems with it. It's got a password generator that you can use to create cryptographically secure passwords, comments for your notes. It's got key files for additional form of authentication. I use key files. I love key files. Key files are based. It's got paranoid mode. Using this mode encrypts your data with both Cha-Cha and Serpent in cascading fashion. It uses MAC SHA-3 authenticate the data instead of Blake's 2B. Argon 2 parameters will be increased significantly as well. For securities, for a hacker to break your encrypted data, both Cha-Cha cipher and Serpent cipher must be broken. Assuming that you choose a good password, it's safe to say this in this mode your files are impossible to crack. Keep in mind, it's slower and isn't really necessary unless you're a government agent with classified data. If you are a government agent, just use paranoid mode. It's got Reed Solomon, so I didn't know what this was. It's a very useful feature for archiving. Apparently, Picocrypt will use the Reed Solomon error correction code to add an 8 extra bytes for every 128 bytes of data to prevent file corruption. This means that up to 3% of your files can be corrupted, and Picocrypt will still be able to correct the errors and decrypt your files with no corruption. Of course, your files corrupts very badly. You drop your hard drive, Pico, obviously. It's got, you can split to chunks, and then it's got deniability. Picocrypt volumes typically follow an easy to recognizable header format. However, if you want to hide the fact that you're encrypting your files, you can enable this option, which will provide you a plausible deniability. The volume will be inextinguishable from a stream of random bytes. The security is pretty well done. Let me show you this property won't be hijacked or backdoored. I have 2FA enabled on all of its accounts to tie with the Pico, and in addition to full disk encryption on all the supported devices. For further hardening, Picocrypt uses my isolated forks of dependencies, and I fetch upstream only. This guy is an absolute gigachad skits. I love it. The name on GitHub is Hacker Alert. He's a GitHub pro, and it's a very based project. It's very small. It's very simple. It's very secure. Very based project. If you want to encrypt your files, just do this. You got paranoid mode. You got read mode, delete files, recursively split. You can split into chunks. There, I'll leave a link to the GitHub repository if that's what's really important. Please go read it. Read the documents. The delete files, it doesn't shred. I mean, he's pretty transparent about everything that they do, which is based and cool. I believe there's also a portable mode, if I can't remember where it's at, where you can download this in case an oopsie daisy happens. You can run it offline. By the way, there is something called Picocrypt.org, disclaimer, claims to be official website of this project. Remember, there is no official website of this project. Even if it's self-proclaimed, the website is taken down. I will not remove this message. Let it be a real world warning to stay vigilant. This is only on GitHub, and he has cross-platform for everything. Very base, very cool. I love it. I pretty much use this for all my files going forward, except for I use, I do full disk encryption for some other things, which this doesn't pretty much happen. Now, so you don't want to use Picocrypt. You have our other options. You have Cryptomator, which is Android supported. You have Vericrypt, 7-Zip GUI, BitLocker. You have a couple options. For your messaging, you have pretty much Signal. I advocate for Signal or Molly, however you want to look at it. And then you have Session and you have SimpleX. These are all fundamental, kind of well tested. They some of them don't. Session doesn't support perfect forward secrecy, and I'm about to explain that. The cool thing about perfect forward secrecy is a cryptography forward secrecy, also known as perfect forward secrecy, in a feature of specified key protocols. It gives the assurance that the session keys will not be compromised, even if a long-term secret is used and the session key are compromised, limiting damage. For HTTPS, the long-term secret is typically the private key for the server. Forward secrecy protects the past sessions against future compromises. By generating a unique session key for every session a user initiates. That's what's important. Perfect forward secrecy also protects data again at the transport layer. OpenSSL when its long-term secret keys are compromised with a heartbeat security bug. If forward secret is used, encryption, communications, and session recorded in the past cannot be retrieved or decrypted. Should long-term secret keys passwords be compromised in the future, even if the adversary actively interfered, for example, man-in-the-middle attack? It's a very valuable thing to think about. Even Session doesn't support this. There's a few other encrypted apps that don't support this. So make sure if you hold your keys and you keep them private and you understand that, you have to understand that what you say might be compromised. That's just a thought process. Now I'm going to explain PGP. When you're using email, when you're using Signal, or whatever, when you're using anything that involves PGP at a base fundamental level, it's good to understand how it works. A lot of people do not understand PGP encryption. It is not perfect, but it is still used. It's been around since 1991. It's 30 years old. Pretty good privacy. So, again, it is not perfect. Keep that in mind. PGP encryption gets you around this problem using public key encryption. Everyone is assigned essentially two keys. Public one you can share with everyone, and a private one you keep to yourself. You keep hidden, which is a part of the problem. You have to understand that. What makes this possible is the codes only work one way. So pretty much, I'm Bob, and Janet wants to send me a message. I give Janet my public key. She encrypts. Hello, Bob. I want to send you $40 million, blah, blah, blah. Here is my bank information. Now, Janet is going to encrypt my message with my public key. And they're going to send it to me. And I'm going to decrypt it with my private key. Now, I want to send a message back to Janet. Hey, Janet, thank you for the $40 million. Blah, 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 blah. I have her public key. I encrypt the message with her public key. I send it back to her. She decrypts it. Everyone can exchange public keys. This is the easy part. But you never share your private key. That is the simplicity. This is all you need to know. This is how, Proton to Proton, it uses PGP by default. But a lot of people on the dark web, a lot of people that are vendors, a lot of people do this. They do this at a very simple, nuanced level. They do PGP messaging because you are encrypting the messages yourself. You know it's encrypted. It's going to send a bunch of gibberish. Unless you have the private key, you cannot see these messages. Yes, we understand metadata leads to most issues, and it's a problem. There's tons of PGP services, applications that you can go out and use. It doesn't really matter. Generate your encryption keys yourself. You can keep them if for how long. RSA is fine. 4,096 bits is fine. There's just know there's guides out there on how to set really good there's really good guides out there that tell you how to set up PGP encryptions. That's not me. Now, storage. Encrypt your storage. That's it. encrypt your storage, encrypt everything before you send it up to the cloud. Use Cryptomator, use Picocryot, end of story. Don't send your stuff without encrypting it. Because even if they say that they encrypt your data, even if Proton encrypts my data, I encrypt my stuff before I send it up to Proton. That'd be dumb. I don't care about their zero knowledge encryption. I don't care about their encryption. I like Proton. I use Proton. Proton's based. But if for whatever reason there's a vulnerability or something in their code, I need to make sure that it might seem extreme, I'm making sure that I'm doing the right thing. And it works for me. Not everyone has to think like this. I think it's good to have different ideas. I encrypt stuff before I send it anywhere. And I have a way to decrypt it. I back up everything. Most of the time I send everything to my local server. I have a local server that I send all my data, and I still encrypt it, and that's local. I mean, that is the extent that I make. Not everyone has to make these decisions. So make sure when you're sending emails, you're using end-to-end encryption, and you're encrypting these emails. Make sure that the provider that you use supports these things. Tutanota exists, Proton exists. Go use them. Go figure it out. Fuck Gmail. And if you do use Gmail, there's a way that you can encrypt your Gmail messages between other providers. I forget that there's some services out there. Go find them. I wouldn't use Gmail. I wouldn't use Gmail if I hadn't had it so long, and if Google had an alternative to maintain my YouTube channel. That is the only reason that exists. Now, a part of this goes into how to manage your bank, how to manage your money in the crypto space, how to do the right thing on keeping the cryptocurrencies that matter, mainly Bitcoin, mainly Monero. How do I keep my not your keys, not your crypto, and 2FA? So that's where we're gonna get into the 2FA part. How to secure your banks. So say you're just a normie, you're a fiat user, you have a bank, you have a mortgage, you have a wife. All these things are relevant. Now, this ties into, hey, I have some documents, and I have a bunch of financial statements. I'm going to use Pico to encrypt all of my financial documents. I'm going to put them in a nice folder, and I'm going to put them to the side so no one can see them in case they hack my PC. Those are essentially what you should have the mindset. Start with the encryption process. Put all your secure, important documents digitally on your computer and throw them in Cryptomator, and just don't forget the fucking password. Beautiful. Now you have secure files that are encrypted and much safer to exist on your computer in case it gets compromised. Let's go to part 2. Banking. 2FA. Put 2FA on everything. 2FA's based. 2FA's cool. 2FA by SMS is not cool. So, first, find a bank. Find a bank that supports 2FA in a very secure manner. So, me scouring the internet, list of services and applications supporting FIDO2, UF2, passwords authentication, and passkeys. A lot of these, FIDO2, U2F, passwordless authentication, much more secure than OTP. TTOP. TTOP, OTT. One-time passcode. Pretty much authenticator app. KeyBank supports FIDO, from what I understand. That's kind of based. SoFi supports authentication apps. Some of these major bank providers only use fucking SMS. That's crazy. And hopefully that's changing. Find a bank that uses a two-factor authentication, and then get I know it suggests Google or Authy, whatever. Don't use them. If you use them if you need to, but I use Aegis and I use YubiKey. YubiKey has a built-in one-time passcode authentication method. YubiKey's great. There's NitroKey. They're great. Like I said, I'm going to link everything down in the show notes just so you don't have to think about it. Because I want to make it as easy as possible. And then YubiKey, if you don't have a YubiKey and if you don't have a NitroKey, which is the open source version, you can go to Aegis. Aegis is for Android. There's Tofu for iPhone, if you have iPhone. But mainly, if you can find and then there's NT. NT is really kind of I believe, Ente, I think. Yeah, Ente Auth. They're another provider. They have pretty much their own pricing plans. They have, they also do encrypted photos. That's another, and they're open source. That is generally what I drive people to, is go the open source route. It doesn't mean it's more secure. It's just the transparency is, to me, is what is important. I generally do not like proprietary software in any capacity as much as possible. So, you get Picocryot, you encrypt your files. You get a bank that supports you in the sense of good security. You get a mobile provider that supports two-factor authentication, and that's the good thing about YubiKey. YubiKey is you can add up to 32 one-time code authentications. Boom. You're already securing your life. These security steps help you manage and reduce the amount of data that gets leaked. This is why I use Simple Login for my email aliasing, so my real email doesn't get leaked that I don't want to. I use PGP to protect my emails if they get leaked, the contents at least. I use Signal in order to get the ability to send end-to-end encrypted messaging that's been verified, and I don't have to leak my number. Simple X for messages that I don't want to use a phone number with. This is all a step in process, and where threat modeling has a massive advantage. And that's where, if you are in the crypto space, there is Lightning. Lightning is a really cool, much more private version of Bitcoin, and the transaction fees are cheap. I am still a Monero stan because I think it is digital cash. It is not tied to all these investors trying to make a bag, and because they want to make a bag, Bitcoin is heavily manipulated, whether people want to admit it or not. But if you invest into Bitcoin and you use Bitcoin, get a hardware wallet, and that hardware wallet allows you to not use these lazy central exchanges that prefer profit over actually securing their customers' accounts, where you assume the responsibility. You make the conscious decision to be able to really unbank yourself from these central exchanges. I used Wizard Swap in order to turn Bitcoin into Monero. It is a good service. It took a while for it to swap over, but lo and behold, I was a little paranoid I got scammed at first because it took quite a long time. But I came back and it was good. Now, some people may look at cryptocurrency as a scam, and I would agree 98% of most cryptocurrency is a fucking scam. MILF token, cum token, cum coin, pee pee poo poo coin, Pepe retard coin, whatever. They're all a bunch of bullshit pump and dumps because people realized, oh, people willingly look me into the eyes and they're like, XRP is great when it's a fucking sinkhole. And if you want to talk about a real fucking honeypot, XRP is probably up there. And if there's any XRP stands listening, fuck you. Their literally dog shit coin ruins the purpose of what cryptocurrency is. In my opinion, I hate their stance and I actually hate the coin itself. I physically think that the type of people that talk about XRP are only in it to get a bag. That's great, but it's a dog shit idea. And the fact that the government has contemplated to a certain degree of implicating their own coin, I believe that XRP constantly is in a legal battle because they don't know if there is security or not. And I'm uninterested beyond that. Monero, on the other hand, has no interest. Nobody cares. No one is like, I can't wait till Monero hits 500 million 500 million% over the next couple years. Monero users are generally the most base people to talk to. They are chill. They care about privacy. They care about the security of their financial institution, and they just want to use it as its intention. Think about it. If I donate $600,000 worth of Bitcoin and my public wallet is tied to me, Bitcoin, to maybe a political organization, and down the road somebody uncovers that I own this, that is a problem. Because I don't think it's people's business to know what I'm donating to with my money. It's not that crazy of a concept. Now, how do you combat that? Oh wait, Ethereum tried that. It's called Tornado Cash. One of the founders of Ethereum essentially wanted to donate to, I think, Ukraine or something, and they didn't want people knowing. So they made Tornado Cash, and then they got arrested because they looked like they were laundering money. And then Samurai Wallet owners got arrested because they looked like they were laundering money. This is a issue. If I take $2,000 worth of Monero and I spend it, no one cares. No one bats an eye. I just need exchanges stop delisting Monero. Fuck you. Essentially, it's such an and the thing is, the price has been pretty decent. It's pretty good against inflation. It's not dropped a ton of money. Most of the time, I just spend it. I don't harvest my Monero. Now, I think Lightning and Bitcoin are very good. I think Lightning, more or less, is the answer to the Bitcoin problem when you have to send stuff because it's fast, it's efficient, and it's quote-unquote more private. So it is, to a certain degree, but I'm generally on the side of Monero. I think that it's more of a future where I can make my transactions private. My credit card company doesn't need to know what I did on a Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. You know, Monero, that's what I like about it. It doesn't care what I do at 3 p.m. on a Friday. That's all I care about. If I send $15,000 to somebody that I've already been taxed on 15 times, essentially, the government should give shit less what I send over. Now, that is, again, a fundamental problem, is a lot of these exchanges delist it. I use certain exchanges in order to obtain my Monero. I accept Monero in terms of a service. Like, if someone's like, hey, can you fix this for me? Can you do this for me? I would prefer to be paid in Monero or cash and then just convert that to Monero. That's generally how I obtain it. That's really all it is. But compared to other people where they're like, how do I obtain it? It's like, because every place is constantly delisting it. And again, I think most crypto is a scam because it essentially preys on people that are uneducated about it, and a lot of pump and dumps happen. I do think Bitcoin, Lightning in general, the more private version, and Monero are essentially the most solid foundation of cryptocurrency. I think they have a utility. I think the Monero is going to be around for a long time. Again, I'm more on this side of Monero from the privacy aspect. I just spend it as is. That's all. Okay. And it's not really about just spending or hoarding. It's about understanding the integrity of most cryptocurrencies and privacy and security. I highly suggest people start. You don't have to be a full developer. You don't have to understand code to the highest degree. You don't have to even go out and write your own cryptography, whatever, your program. You just need to start the base fundamental of how a lot of this stuff works, because it allows you to make better informed decisions. It's not essentially about being self-reliant and fuck Google and fuck Google, but throwing all this stuff to the wind and just, I have no options. You do have options. I want people to know that privacy and security can still happen. It's not zero. It's not something that you need to dread about. I think there are certain parts of my life that I accept as an individual that will never be private, and that lessen the burden. And there are certain parts that I have absolute control over that give me higher level of security and privacy that matter more to me, actually, as an individual. It's not all doom and gloom. Now, I've been screaming into the mic and into the cloud for about 42 minutes. So I'm going to break down, if anyone's made it this far, is a TLDR. First, go find a very well-trusted encryption software. Second, find and get your friends to use good end-to-end and vetted end-to-end encrypted messaging platforms. Last, if you do decide to bank as far away as possible, make sure you get a physical hardware cryptocurrency wallet. Stop using long-term software-based wallets unless it is quick and efficient spending. Now, Sam Bent did a really good thing on address poisoning. Go check him out. He does a pretty good explanation of how this works. Last, find applications that allow you to use your own form of 2FA where you have control. And obviously use 2FA SMS if you have to, but stop using it. It's time. We need to get away from it. With those thoughts out of the way and my perspective out into the void, and maybe better organization next time, I leave you with this. Make sure that you are constantly rechecking yourself and realizing that you can have a more private and secure future. Good night, and I'll see you all later.